This is going to be the second round of Q&A answers. There's been some logistical issues, and it's just taken me a little bit of time to get a little time block to sit down and answer some of these questions. The video wasn't really working with actually reading the questions off my phone very well, so I'm just going to go ahead and do audio only and probably splice in some nature videos. I got at least one positive remark on that, so hopefully y'all like that. Okay, without further ado, I'll get into the questions, starting from where I left off. Okay. Dionysos Alter says, do you ever had any problems with the SI joint? If so, how do you treat it? Sorry, man, I don't think I've ever had that problem, or if I did, I didn't know by that name. Mustafa Marzouk said, is it normal to feel compression after overhead press, squats, deadlifts on my upper back and scapula? Probably. I mean, it's not something I've ever felt. Well, no, I'll take that back. Yeah, no, I think I understand what you're talking about. A sense of tightness, like you've almost pulled a muscle, if that's what you're talking about, but like not a pull, but it kind of feels like you almost did. If that's what you're talking about, then yeah, I've felt that before. I think that's normal. Basically, as long as it doesn't get worse and it doesn't become an issue where you're not able to do what you're trying to do, it should be okay. But this is not medical advice. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not even certified as a personal trainer, although I would probably be a much better candidate than most people that are. But yeah, take whatever I say with a grain of salt. Okay, what's next? I already covered that. Okay. Pastille BG asks, tips for grip and forearm training. Honestly, I'm not really the guy to go to on that. I don't actually have a whole lot of grip strength. I mean, you've seen me do a pretty decent one-hand deadlift, but that's all hook grip, which is a very different thing than most other types of grip, like pinch, crush, things of that nature. I'm actually not very good at grip strength. My 1 rep max double overhead and deadlift so far is 405, and that was pretty difficult. You've got guys like Vol Viking, I just saw, did a crazy video of like 460 or something for like 16 reps. I mean, partials, but still, I mean, your grip doesn't care if it's a partial or not. Double overhand. There are a lot of people that have much more ridiculous grip, and I'm trying to get better. I don't think I have relatively skinny fingers, but that's just an excuse. I'm definitely not the best grip guy on here. The guy who calls himself the Batman, I've seen do damn near 300 pounds one hand deadlift, no hook grip, which is just unbelievable. I think I did 215 on that. It's mind blowing. So you've got a lot of guys on here, and I mean, these are just lesser known guys. I mean, obviously you've got, I'm sure, some like, complete grip champions that are doing even more than that. But I'm not the guy to ask about that. But what's worked for me, I mean, just specifically training the grip, either double overhand deadlifts or one hand no hook grip deadlifts are really good for just building your grip strength in terms of barbell. You've seen some of my videos, some of the Gorner tips that I used, some kind of different grips, like doing a one-hand deadlift with basically just holding the bar in the tips of your fingers, thumb disengaged. That helps to build grip strength. Doing deadlifts with a bent arm, that helps to build a lot of forearm strength. One of the biggest things that really helped my forearms actually grow, just in terms of visible size, was the Chuck Sipes dumbbell curl. That's basically a dumbbell curl where you have your elbow resting on something so that it's actually above the level of your shoulder. It's really hard to explain. There's no way I'm going to be able to explain it. But I have some older videos on my channel of this curl, and maybe if I'm really high energy, I'll splice in a video in here into this video somewhere so you can see. Those actually put some size on because they really train that kind of gooseneck looking part of the forearm very well. They let you use a whole lot of weight. I've done 100 pounds and I have like ridiculously long skinny forearms, so you can use a whole lot of weight on them, and it's just a very good forearm exercise. That's worked for size. Let's see what else has been good for grip. I mean, if you have to carry plates around, like just to get your weight set up working, just carry them in a pinch grip. I've been doing a lot of that, and that's really helped me out. My grip is definitely stronger just because I've been walking around with, pairs of 10s, 15s, 25s, 45s held in the pinch grip for as long as I can. That's just kind of become a part of my routine because I have to carry weights around all the time just to get set up. So that really helps. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, those are my best grip and forearm training recommendations. Okay. Claude asked what exercise is this, I want to try it, referring to the video where I solicited questions. I know I replied to him, but this is the Scott lift. It's a USAWA or IAWA, whatever, all-around weightlifting competitive lift, and I'll give you a little synopsis of it. Basically, someone, I forgot who, that was involved in all-around weightlifting observed a young female nurse lifting a patient in this fashion, basically on her knees, puts her arms under the patient, lifts the patient up somehow, like, into her arms, and then gets up one leg at a time. And this is supposedly a very small nurse lifting a very large patient, which impressed whatever this lifter was and made them want to incorporate that into a lift. So I guess the nurse's last name is Scott. No, I don't know her first name. But yeah, it's a competitive lift. I believe the record was somewhere like 250, 260 until I tried it. Well, I mean, it still is officially, but I have somewhat advanced upon that to 315, which, anyway, yeah, Scott lift, that's it. We've got someone called Moisha asking, why are women so gay? Okay, well, that's a pretty deep question. It's really elevating the tone of the discussion a whole lot here. It's a thought question. It's kind of a big question. One of those questions that you really have to take some time and really go into detail on. So unfortunately, I feel like I'm going to have to maybe punt on this one, because really this is the sort of question that deserves its own video, honestly. And I don't think I could really do that question justice, in the scope of this video. But thank you, Moisha, for your question. I don't know, if you're Israeli, cheers in Israel. Seems like more of an Orthodox name. It's a little bit of an odd question, but unfortunately, I'm just gonna have to punt on that question because it really deserves its own video. It's just a whole lot would go into that, But thank you, Moisha. Okay. Supa Bambi asked, how long do we have to wait for a Boogs collab? I already kind of addressed that. Like I said, I just don't think he'd have any. I mean, the guy's got an Old Spice commercial now. I don't think he'd have any reason to want anything to do with a 2,000 subscriber YouTuber like me. But hey, if he wants to do it, I'm down. Totally. Hit me up, man. Okay. From Evolved Viking, who, if you guys aren't following this guy, what a monster. Go follow him. Absolute Chad. You want to see somebody that's 250 pounds doing a one-arm chin-up, go follow Evolved Viking. Okay, he asks, what are your short-term, long-term goals for lifting? Any major weights you want to hit? Okay, so short-term goals, I would like to hit a 500-pound one-hand deadlift. That's something that I've wanted to do for I think almost a decade now, and it looks like I might actually have a chance of doing it. That would be super cool if I could do that. Let's see, what else do we have? Short-term lifting goals. I'd like to be able to do some kind of legitimate one-arm Olympic lift with 175. I've done kind of a cheated, like, half-assed one-arm jerk, but that I'm not really satisfied with that. So either a one-arm snatch, a like legitimate no assistance from the other hand, one-arm clean and jerk, or I definitely take a Turkish get up. Just basically a legit one-hand overhead lift of 175. I would really like to do, and I'm hoping I can get that done this year. Long-term goals for lifting, honestly, it's less what I personally want to hit myself and more like popularizing traditional weightlifting, old-time strongman training. I mean, I'm obviously trying to improve myself. I have a lot of, personal goals, but ultimately, if all my lifts get completely eclipsed and destroyed because the stuff gets the popularity that it deserves, that would make me happier than anything. Like, I just set technically the heaviest Arthur lift, full Arthur lift that anyone's done since Arthur Saxon, as far as I know. It's very possible that someone has done this since then, just I haven't gotten a record of it, but honestly, that shouldn't be. I'm not really that good at overhead lifts. I'm not that good at jerks. So, quite frankly, if the Arthur lift were to gain the popularity that it deserves based on how good of an actual lift it is, just how good for training and everything that it actually is, I wouldn't be anywhere close to the top. So honestly, yeah, if I could just help to popularize this stuff, and I'm not the best at anything, I'm not even close to it on anything, but people are saying, yeah, that guy got me into it, that would make me really happy. So yeah, just being a part of popularizing this stuff and getting a lot more people more functional, mobile, healthy, feeling good about themselves, not feeling like they need to use drugs to do incredible things and do things that even drug using athletes today aren't really doing. If I could be a part of making that happen, then I would feel incredibly accomplished. And I mean, honestly, if in that a way to actually do this as a profession came about, I mean, this for me, it's just a hobby. I've never worked in the fitness industry, never been a trainer or anything like that. But if in some way I could find a way to actually make a living in this, that would be cool too. But yeah, just my biggest long-term goal is just to have everybody know the names of these lifts when they see me doing something, not be like, what is that? I've never seen it before. But oh yeah, I know what that trains. I know that's a really good hamstring exercise or some such. That's my long-term goal, because ultimately I think a lot of people are not training as effectively as they could, and they're missing out on a lot. And I think there's a lot of good stuff that I really, really want to share. So that's definitely the long-term goal, is to just help to popularize a lot of these effective training methods. Okay. Mac Marauder asked, how did you originally get into doing odd lifts? So my first exposure to any kind of odd lifts came from actually the blog Chaos and Pain. I don't know if anybody's heard about that. I went into it, I guess I went into it briefly on the last one, but yeah, Chaos and Pain. Posted a lot of stuff. Jamie Lewis is the guy's name. He posted a lot of stuff about the old-time strongmen on his blog. And from there, I got some exposure to some of the old lifts. I started doing one-hand deadlifts and Zercher squats from that. And then I kind of just took those kind of a la carte. Didn't really get into the whole thing. Didn't get into like doing all the lifts. I'd read about, for example, the Arthur lift. I'd read there and then elsewhere. I found basically through him, I found a blog that I recommend everybody check out. It's a wonderful resource. Like, if you're curious about the history of this stuff, or you just want the original authentic articles, the Tight Tan Slacks of Dezoban. It's a really weird name, but this It's basically just a collection of old muscle articles, it could be from the 20s, the 40s, the 50s, just all of this. It's a gold mine of old sources, and I read a lot there. I'd read descriptions of the Arthur lift and stuff, but I never actually saw what that looked like until I saw James Fuller demonstrate it. A lot of this stuff, I didn't really know what it was supposed to look like the bent press, the Arthur lift. I knew of it, I knew about it, but I didn't actually know what it was supposed to look like until I saw James Fuller, who runs the Strongman Archaeology Instagram, and watching him do it was basically how I learned a lot of this stuff. Arthur lifts, bent press, self-loaded leg press. I mean, this guy is an incredible resource. I recommend everybody check him out. I think the easiest, he's got a Facebook platform, a YouTube, and an Instagram, but the Instagram is by far the best way to just look at his lifts. So everybody check him out. Strongman Archaeology Instagram. He was probably my best, especially visual resource for actually getting into that stuff. And I got into it in 2020 when the gyms closed down for COVID, because all I had was a barbell and to start with 185 pounds. So I knew I knew the old time strongmen were doing some really cool stuff with, limited equipment. So I kind of knew where to look. I looked into it. Sure enough, found a lot of really awesome stuff. And that's basically how I got into it. Okay, Rick Grimes asks, how do you get rid of knee pain? Okay, good question. I've been actually following the Knees Over Toes guy recently. I've been looking at a lot of his stuff, and I would recommend anyone who's interested in knee pain, check him out. But I've dealt with knee pain a lot before I looked at his stuff, and my number one suggestion is train hamstrings more. Obviously, if something's hurting a lot on your knee, don't do it, but definitely try to train around it. Try to find some sort of a knee flexion or quad exercise that you can do that doesn't hurt it in the meantime, and then just train the hell out of your hamstrings, train the hell out of your calves, do some tibialis raises or something for your tibialis, and between just training the hamstrings, tibialis, and calves, that's always been enough to work for me, in conjunction with, of course, just whatever's hurting, quit doing that for a bit. That's always worked for me on knee pain. Oh yeah, one more thing. If you're trying to bulk too much, or maybe you're fat, not to be a dick, but if you're fat, if you're eating too much, cut down on that. Cutting has always been my go-to for fixing my joints. I mean, my knees are basically bulletproof when I cut down, get lean. I start to have knee problems when I bulk. There was one time when I was just doing GoMad plus, eating a shitload of food for powerlifting. It worked wonders in some ways. I remember I was trying to do 315 on close grip bench press at the time, and it felt so easy. I jumped off and then checked the weights to see if my workout partner had changed them, but sure enough it was 315. I believe I did 7, which is insane. So eating a lot can really help in the short term, but in the long term I ended up getting knee issues so bad that standing strict press hurt my knees, which is ridiculous, and that shouldn't be. And I was fat, I didn't look good, I didn't feel good. There were issues there. I should have cut a lot sooner. Anyway, on the flip side, I can pretty much abuse my knees, do whatever the hell I want to them when I'm cutting, when I'm getting really lean, and I don't have any issues at all. So yeah, hamstrings, hamstring work, tibialis work, calf work, and if that doesn't work, cut. That's my. I think that'll work for knee pain. The Knees Over Toes guy is the expert, but for me, that's always worked for me. This is a good question. Joey Keeley asks, would you ever want to create or compete in an odd lift federation, or would that ruin the fun by regulating them? No, not at all. I think that'd be awesome. I would love to compete or create one. So there already is a federation that's in America, USAWA, that's all around weightlifting. Almost everything I do, not quite, but almost every lift that I do is a competitive lift with them. The only problem is they're very localized. There are only a couple gyms on the East Coast where they actually do this. So, I mean, I live in California. Realistically, I can't travel to the East Coast to compete, so that's not really an option for me. If that federation could be expanded to the West Coast, then I'd be happy to work with them and compete, here. And, if anyone else on the West Coast is watching this and is interested in creating a West Coast chapter, hit me up. I'd be happy to help with that. That's a big goal for me, would be ideally to just generate enough interest in this stuff that there's kind of a fan base out on the West Coast that could, possibly create a West Coast USAWA chapter. So I'd love to do that. Or if other people want to create a new federation that maybe does things differently, I'm okay with that too. I don't really, I'm happy to work with them. I'm happy to, work with something else. I mean, anything that gets this stuff more popular and makes it into a legit competitive sport, I'd be happy to do. To me, it kind of makes sense. Why not just kind of expand the thing that already exists? But if some other people want to create something new that maybe gains more momentum, I'd like that too, either way. So yeah, definitely, I don't think there'd be any problem with competing in this stuff. I think competition's good. I think it's healthy. And one good thing I will say about them is they seem to have kept it all natural. They don't seem to have had too many, drug users getting in trying to set big records. I think some of these exercises would probably give drug users a lot of injuries because they're very tendon strength oriented, a lot of them. But yeah, I'd be happy to either work with them or help create something new. Either way, just bottom line, just get more people interested in competing. Yeah. What size jeans do I wear? I think this is from the Batman. What size jeans do you wear? Well, I wear 32 waist, 34 inseam barbell barrel jeans. They work for everything. If I can do Cossack squats in them, they're probably pretty good jeans. Zayed Al Hakim said, "How on earth did you get so strong?" Basically, progressive overload, putting a couple more pounds in the bar each time over the course of, what is it now? Oh God, what am I, 14 years, and not being afraid to try new things. That's basically it. I mean, if I hit a particular number on a particular lift, at pretty much guaranteed I'm going to come back and try to put 5-10 more pounds on it. And if I lose progress on that lift, if I can't advance that lift anymore, I'm going to switch to something else where I can. I'm not afraid to try any new thing I see, and I'll try to advance on that too. And that's how I got so strong. Okay. Halston Sellington asked, "I was wondering how to properly interact the weight in the searcher, but this video just answered that. Thanks." Okay, glad I could answer your question. Okay. Jacob Rubb asked, "How can you avoid spine injuries performing shit like heavy searchers off the ground? I've started going heavy on 2.5 inches deficit deadlifts, and that's more than enough to smoke my erectors. I can't even imagine how much resilience you must have in your vertebrae. Did you build it up using basic progressive overload, or are there some forgotten golden era methods at play? Thanks in advance for helping out the frail spinelet." Well, don't call yourself that. You can, there have been times where I've had a glass back, where I've been on the verge of injury too, from a combination of misuse, overuse, underuse, all of the above. So if I can do it, you can do it. Are there some forgotten golden era methods at play? Not really. It mostly is just progressive overload. Just, build up the spine, 5 pounds at a time in various exercises. I'll just draw your attention to a couple things. First of all, heavy zerchers are not as hard on the spine as you might think. If you look at somebody performing a zercher, especially the lower back area where people tend to get a lot of injuries, it's actually a lot more upright than you might think. Your upper back rounds a lot, but your lower back is not rounding a whole lot in a zercher. A zercher is actually, or speaking of like a zercher squat or a full zercher cycle, so if you deadlift it off the ground and then put it on your knees and then initiate the zercher, that's actually, you keep your lower back pretty upright. And it's actually pretty easy on the spine. I've never had issues with that particular lift. I don't believe I've ever had a serious back injury with heavy zerchers, and I've gone up to 500 or more routinely over about a decade. So I think that's kind of a misconception, but I think a lot of that is like upper backs rounding that people see, but that's not really where people get injuries. So zerchers are not as risky as people think. Now, I will say with the zercher deadlift, which is getting into the zercher position with the bar on the ground, I don't max out. I don't go anywhere near my full capabilities because I do feel like that is something that would put your back in a potentially risky spot. So I train it to keep my back, exposed to, some weight and hopefully a little bit more resilient to unexpected weight in that position, like if you're in a fight or something. But I actually don't max on that one. Now I do on the one hand variation, but that's because I feel like the back is not the limiting factor there. The arm and lat are not the low back, so I don't think you run the same degree of risk of overloading the spine there, because that's not going to be the weak link, I don't think. As far as old time techniques to build up the vertebrae, Jefferson curls. That's basically a rounded back, extreme range of motion Romanian deadlift, where ideally the bar is going below the level of your feet. Ideally your feet are elevated and you have some play where the bar can actually travel below the level of your feet. It's used to develop flexibility, but also build up your spinal column, or the muscles around your spinal column, rather. And that's an exceptional way to prepare your vertebrae in advance to handle weight in odd positions. Hope that answers your question. And as far as you said, the deficit deadlifts, honestly I think a deficit deadlift is gonna probably put more strain on your low. Not that I'm saying don't do them, but it actually probably would put more strain on your low back than a zercher squat actually would. So you can, you're not a glass back. You can train your back up just like I did. Okay. Cruikshank asked, how many days a week do you lift? Let me just answer that first, and then I'll get to the rest of the question. I usually lift 3 days a week, and that's going to usually be a push, a pull, and a leg day. That's pretty much it. I sometimes will add a fourth day, and that can be pretty much random, but usually 3 days. Just push, pull, legs. That is what works in my work schedule, because I only lift on my off days. That works for me. And should I keep doing my zercher squats with upright form like a front squat, or should I switch them to how you do them? Because you obliterated 435 and I need to get there. I mean, honestly, that depends on you. If you want it to carry over better to your front squats, to your Olympic lifts, maybe to your back squats even, you might want to stay upright more. That's definitely going to carry over to the Olympic lifts better. But to me, if you want to do that, why not just do a front squat? I mean, that's what we have front squats for. If you want an assistance lift for Olympic exercises, or Olympic lifts, that's going to be the front squat. The zercher squat, I feel, is more a strongman oriented assistance exercise. So it's a full-on lift, but if you're using it to train something, it's more from the strongman school. And I think the leaned over, like more rounded back, whatever you want to call it. I think that's more applicable to strongman. That's more like what you'd be doing if you were lifting a heavy log or a stone lift or something. It's definitely the most efficient way to basically just pull a heavy weight off the ground, reset it, regrip it on your legs, and then lift it all the way up. So from a strongman perspective of just getting a heavy, possibly unusually shaped object off the ground, regripping it on your legs, and then lifting it to a usable position in your arms, I think that's the most optimal way to do it. And because, you know, the Zercher is kind of more of a strongman movement, that's how I do it. Also, obviously, because I can do more weight that way. So yeah, I mean, I would say do Zerchers the more strongman way, and then if you want to do an Olympic lift, do front squats. But there's absolutely nothing to stop you from also doing Zercher squats that way if that's more what you're trying to train. Okay, I believe that's it. I'm seeing some other questions, but I believe I've already covered them. So yeah, I think I actually finally got through all of them. So I really appreciate everybody that's given me questions and everybody that's actually sat through this whole now over 30-minute video. Hope you guys are having a great night or day or whenever you're watching this. And until next time, thanks for watching. I hope you subscribe and everything.